Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of Soulfully Soul. A little bit of context, I'm 24 years old and I'm Canadian, but for almost 3 years of my life, I lived in Korea. I just moved back a couple months ago. I have a couple vlogs of my time in Korea, but I've realized I've never actually sat down to talk about why I moved to Korea. There's a lot of things that I would love to talk about, not just about living there, but just experiencing different things. So why did I move to Korea in the first place? To make a long story very short, when I was in university, I majored in Asian studies. I had to take an Asian language. I chose Korean because the writing was the easiest. I didn't want to learn the Chinese characters for Chinese or Japanese. I took Korean for about 2 years, and then one of my professors suggested that I do the ep.1 program, which is the English program in Korea. And so they look for native English speakers in countries like the US, Canada, Australia, UK, and a couple more. And it's through the Korean government, and they place you in a school or multiple schools so you can teach English to the local students. So when my professor recommended this program to me, I ended up applying when I was in my 4th year of university. I didn't really know what I wanted to do after I graduated job-wise. I knew I wanted to do my master's eventually, but I didn't want to do it right after I graduated. And so I thought this would be just like a really good opportunity to like travel, make some money, and just like get new life experience. And to be honest, when I looked at the program, I did really like the benefits and everything that I was seeing, like the government pays for your housing, healthcare and everything was taken care of. I was fine with the pay as well. The cost of living in Korea is not as bad as Canada. So yeah, I ended up applying maybe in February, I think, of 2022, and I ended up going to Korea in August of the same year. I'm gonna be honest, even when I applied for the job, I didn't actually think like, oh, I'm gonna be moving to Korea in a couple of months. I was going through the process and I was hopeful, but I just didn't really mentally register, I think, what I was doing. And also everything happened very fast. So once I did the interview and I actually got placed, everything happened very quickly. Like I had to do a ton of paperwork, obviously, to get my Korean visa. And I actually got my Korean work visa 10 days before I was supposed to leave. So I remember I got my visa, I showed it to my parents, and then we all went to the computer and bought my one-way flight ticket that day. And then 10 days later, I moved to Korea, which is so crazy to say, but in a way it was actually very good that everything happened very quickly and very last minute, because I really had no time to overthink anything. I don't even think I had time to just think. Like I was really just like doing my paperwork and everything. I was like, oh, I have to pack now. I didn't have time to really think about what I was doing, which was definitely a good thing. I just got on the plane and left. And to be honest, it didn't really register to me what I was doing until I landed in Korea and I was there. But I was super lucky because my family was always very supportive. They were like, no, like you have to go. Like it would be a once in a lifetime experience. I'm also in a really lucky and privileged position where I knew if I didn't have a good experience, I could have just come back to Canada to be with my family. So when you first get to Korea as part of the ep.1 program, you do a 1-week orientation. I personally really like the orientation just because it was a great place to make some friends who are going to be located close to you. Oh, also I forgot to mention, at this point, I didn't know exactly what city or what school I was going to be in. I just knew the province I was going to be in. They don't tell you those exact details until the day you sign the contract, which is when orientation is over a week later, after you've already been in Korea for about 5 or 6 days. So I remember I literally made my closest friends during orientation. They have been my friends the whole time I've been in Korea, and obviously they're still my friends now. And after orientation was over, we ended up all in the same province. And then when orientation was over, we all knew we were in the same province, so that was really nice. We could all meet up on the weekends and keep in touch really easily. And I got so unbelievably lucky with my placement. I was placed in a very small rural town, and at first I was very nervous. I was like, oh my goodness, like I'm not even in a city, like I'm in rural Korea, like this is crazy, like I don't know how I'm gonna learn how to go through with this. But it's kind of like a sink or swim situation. Like you just kind of have to adapt very quickly and get used to things. And I'm actually very proud of myself because I don't think it really took me that long to adapt. It took me about a month to just like get into my routine routine to fully move in and feel comfortable. That's also why I wasn't homesick at first, because I was just way too busy like getting used to my new job. I was like, what does my house need? Like I still need to buy things for my house. And also navigating my relationships with all of my new coworkers who are very fascinated by me, and they're trying their hardest to speak in English. I'm trying my hardest to speak in Korean. So when all of that is happening, you don't really get homesick because you're just very busy. But when I was finally settled in a month later in October, I was definitely getting homesick. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so far away from family and friends. But yeah, I really lucked out because I had an amazing co-teacher. If you don't know, your co-teacher is the main person that takes care of you while you're in the EPIC program, or they're supposed to be. So it's the luck of the draw. You could get like a bad co-teacher who's kind of hands off and like doesn't really want to help you with anything. I got super lucky. I literally got one of the nicest people, and I would not have survived in Korea without him, but he helped me open my bank account. He helped me with my phone number. If I had any housing issues, like he would help me out with that. He helped me talk with my landlord, and also my landlord was super sweet. I had no issues with her as well. I forgot to mention, you also don't choose your housing, so housing is just provided for you. And I also got very lucky with that. I lived in an old building, but luckily it was very safe and very clean, and that's all I cared about. And also I loved the space. I had a very big living space for one person. And yeah, honestly, all of my coworkers were very sweet, including my bosses. So that's like my co-teacher, who's technically the person like right above you. And then also the VPs and principals were also very sweet and would always try to make me feel comfortable. And I think that's kind of the nice thing about being in such a small rural town, is that none of them have really met a foreigner. And obviously this can go one of two ways. Like maybe they might not be as welcoming, but again, I think I just had the luckiest experience where everyone was so sweet and just very curious about me, and but like so helpful, and just they really wanted me to feel comfortable. And I also think because of my age, because I moved to Korea when I was 21 years old, definitely all of the staff saw me as a kid. They were like, oh my God, this is basically like a college student. Like she's just a kid and you're so far away from home. So especially I would say my female coworkers and my female bosses, they really were like my moms when I was in Korea. I remember so clearly they would ask me questions like, is your house warm in the winter time? They'd be like, do you know how to use your heating? They would ask me like, what do you eat for breakfast usually? Like I recommend this, this, and this. I had a couple coworkers and co-teachers give me food. Like that's the main way I think Koreans show affection, is giving food. And so a lot of them would give me like soups, vitamin drinks, just things for your health really. But definitely the best part about living in Korea to me was the students. I adore kids, but seriously, like I can't tell you how nice the children were. And maybe for the first week or two, they're very just fascinated by you. They're like, oh my God, a foreigner. For a lot of them, you're the first foreigner they're meeting, or it's the first one they've seen in a long time, or the first one they can properly interact with. And so for the first week, they're just very curious about you. They want to touch your hair. Some of them are kind of confused as to why you don't understand Korean. Like they've never met someone who doesn't speak Korean. So that's a whole new experience to them. Then after a couple of weeks, they get used to you and they just treat you like their best friend. Like they just want affection from you and they really don't see you differently from anyone else. I just really love that. And I love that I got to be that exposure to them and to show them like, look, foreigners and anyone else on the planet can be very nice people and we're all the same. So I definitely really love that about my job. But anyways, in conclusion, that is why I moved to Korea and kind of the process of how I did it. So I spent 2 years teaching public school in a rural town, and then my last 6 months in Korea, I ended up moving to Seoul and I worked in a hagwon for 6 months. And that was always the plan, even though it was a 1-year contract. I wanted to move back to Canada and have a break because I'm doing my master's in September. So everything kind of worked out timing wise. But yeah, in future episodes, I would love to just talk about different experiences I had in Seoul, K-beauty standards, K-pop. Like I just have so many things I could talk about and I'm very excited to get this whole thing started. If anyone has any questions, I would love to answer it about Korea. I can't really help with like logistical things like paperwork and stuff, but if you just have any questions about like what Korea is like or any any questions about like the food or what it's like to be a foreigner specifically in Korea, I'd be more than happy to answer anything. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm very excited to make future episodes, and I will see you next time. Or you can listen to me next time in case you are only listening to the audio version of this. Thanks for listening to Soulfully Soul. Bye!